Hello friends, I am Abhishek Budoni from Knowledge Gem and today we are back with another video on our channel. So the topic of today's video is GSP. So what does basically GSP stands for? GSP stands for Generalized System of Preferences. It was a project under the United Nations government which was launched way back in the era of 1970s. The basic key factor played by US trade organization, that is UNCTAD, that was United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. This company conducted two rounds of discussion in 1968 and the regime of GSP was passed. Under this, in this discussion, 10 years of lease or ceiling year was given by the developed nations to the developing countries under the GSP regime. So before studying the GSP regime, let's study basically what does trade stands for. So suppose there are two countries, namely country 1 that will be represented by CNT1 and country 2. The country 1 is developed country and the country 2 is a developing country. So whenever trade happens between two countries, a custom duty is levied on the commodities exported from country 1 to country 2. So under the GSP regime, first let us basically see that if a good is manufactured at 100 rupees in country 1 and it is exported to another country and that country imposes custom duty on it, suppose it is 10%. So now the final good will be available in the next country at 110 rupees. This is the basis of trade. So what did GSP did? GSP removed this trade barrier. GSP removed this custom tax or tariff and removed the trade barriers. The custom tariff was replaced with tariffs. These tariffs were further removed by GSP. So under this GSP, what happens is there was a duty-free export from the developing country to the developed nation. From the developing country to the developed nation. This was the whole history behind the introduction of GSP. Now, how does it help in trade? So, if we see the trades between the US and India. So, in the year span of 2015 to 2017, total imports of USA was around $17.2 billion, and in the year 2017, after the GSP regime, that was $20.77 billion. So the imports increased from $17 billion to $20 billion, mainly citing a $3 billion increase, out of which the exports from USA, exports from India to USA were $4.58 billion in 2015 and $5.58 billion in 2017, nearly seeing a $1 billion increase. Now next, coming to that how much products USA comes under the GSP. So we can see that there are 4,000 products from various countries that come under GSP, out of which 1900 products are exported by India alone. So you can say that India plays a significant role in GSP. Recently, a major current affair about the GSP is that GSP is removed from the USA to India. Now, what will what will be the impacts of this removal? Impacts first. Let me talk about every coin has a two sides. So let me talk about both the situations. Why the developed country and the developing country. Developing country so let me tell you the basic impacts of the removal of GSP on both the countries, that is from the developed countries and the developing countries. So let me talk about the developing countries. Developing countries MSMEs, that is micro, small and medium enterprises, will get affected. See, if we are talking about India, MSMEs provide a major role to the employment of people, and the major areas where exports from India to US are engineering, goods, chemical goods, and textile. These are basically three major exports from India to USA. Now, if we see, there is one thing common in all three sectors. That is, these all three sectors are labor intensive industries. So we can say that if GSP is getting removed, then the whole and soul effect will be transmitted across 13 areas of expertise of export of India to USA. So the Indian government is not paying much attention to this because it is such a small, because 180 million dollars was the profit India gained under the GSP regime, and out of $45.2 billion in the last year US dollars, last year $5.58 billion were covered under the GSP regime. So you can see that if the profit is such minimal and this effect transmits across 13 sectors of India, so it is not of paying much attention, but still it affects the Indo-US relations. Now coming to the point that what was the reason of withdrawal of GSP? The main reason behind the withdrawal of GSP was the trade deficit. You see, when India and US trade, there is a trade deficit of around 20 billion US dollars. I mean to say that the trade is more inclined or more productive for the developing countries. In this case, it is India. So it is 20 billion US dollars the trade is inclined towards India. So under the GSP regime, after the removal of the GSP regime, this trade deficit is likely to increase, not decrease. Second reason is that imposition of higher tariff by India. Let me take an example for that. Suppose there was a case study done by the US Department of Commerce that one Harley Davidson bike that was manufactured in USA. So in exporting it to India, the USA has to pay 100% tariff. Now see that if the cost of Harley Davidson vehicle is 1 lakh in USA, then it will have to pay, the Indian consumers have to pay rupees 2 lakh for the same Harley Davidson bike. So it was not a counterproductive measure, and 100% tariff is an objectionable one. However, after the company sought to give attention to this, then it was reduced to 50%, but still it was high. Now coming to the point that why a country charges tariffs. The main reason behind high tariffs is for the protection of local industries. And it is not only in India. There is a objective behind these high tariffs, and that objective is protection of local industries. See, not only in India but around the other countries of the world also. Say for USA, I am talking about the maximum tariff. It charges 325% tariff. For Japan, charges over 700% tariff, and in the case of South Korea, it charges over 800% of tariff. Now the reason or the objective behind the charge of such higher tariffs in USA, it is to protect its tobacco manufacture. For Japan, it is rice. So you can see that every country has basically a objective behind the charge of higher tariffs, and under the GSP regime these tariffs were removed. But now as GSP has been withdrawn, so another reason why withdrawal of GSP from India was stent devices. Stent basically refers to a category of medical equipment. Now what happened that India started regulating started regulating the prices of medical equipments. Now this was an objectionable material for US medical manufacturers. So they sought to USTR, that is United States Trade Representative, and complained about the same. So one of the major reasons behind the withdrawal of GSP. Now comes the third reason for the withdrawal of GSP. The third reason was e-commerce websites. Because India started regulating the e-commerce websites also, so because of that the GSP was withdrawn. Now the fourth reason that is relating to MasterCard and Visa. But India said that MasterCard and Visa's storages should be made local. So these were the reasons for the withdrawal of GSP from India. Now what India can do to fight such a crisis situation? India can approach WTO, or India can adopt give and take policy, or India can also introduce the concept of reciprocal taxes. Giving in brief about the reciprocal taxes, suppose a country A and a country B are trading with each other. Suppose the country B leaves 50% tariff on the good on one particular commodity of country A. So now country B will also, the country A will also charge a 50% tariff. This was the concept of reciprocal taxes. So these were the reasons, or these are the counter protective measures that India can take to the withdrawal of GSP. So this marks the end of the video. If you have liked watching the video, then please subscribe the channel and hit the like button.